What's up, everyone? We have some very interesting things to cover in today's episode. First off, we saw a bank stock pop by 53% in one day. Like this is so rare I can't even describe it. Like you never see bank stocks, especially of this size, explode so much. So we're definitely gonna take a look at the big news on that side of the market. But we also have some exciting earnings for tomorrow and just some other important things to know for the rest of the week. Like I said, we have an awesome video, so make sure to stick with us towards the end. We also have a $1.2 million trade you won't want to miss. But Tom, with that being said, let's get right into it.
Yeah, we actually continued that bad, choppy movement, in my opinion, from last week. We saw a bunch of up and down price action a lot last week, and we saw the same thing actually happen again today with the SPY. So we actually opened up higher, hit an upper resistance around 398 to 399, and then tanked all the way back down to lows around 395.50, and then ran all the way back up to 398 before closing right around the close of Friday. So really, we didn't gain too much action here in the market today. We did see a few pops up with some of the banks, like you mentioned. And whenever we go to the heat map here, you can obviously tell that the tech stocks got hit quite hard today, like Google, Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, all down. But those bank stocks were really recovering back up, and even oil had a really nice day. So it was a pretty good day, I'd say, overall. Even Walmart and a couple retailers were popping up, and the overall market tried to pop, but just didn't really get any traction going. I did notice that there's a pretty good trend here on the SPY from the past few days, and we can see there's actually like a nice double top going on right there on that trend line. So I'm curious for tomorrow if we're going to be able to get up above 399 to 400 on the SPY, or if we're just going to keep rejecting and falling back down here. And I feel like some of this bank news might make or break the market here.
Yeah, and you also, on like a different note, when you were looking at the heat map, I also think there's some very, very important things to take away from that. Like, yes, the bank news is huge, and when you see bank stocks up, 3 or 5% or 50% in some cases, that's giant. But it's like you pointed out though, Tom, when you look at those tech stocks, it's bad. Google's down 3%, Microsoft's down 1.5%, Apple and Nvidia are struggling, and it's like we all know how important tech stocks are for the market, and it's like if these tech stocks keep rolling over, it's gonna be really hard for the market to actually move to the upside. So it's like normally we don't see tech stocks like this, but when they're weak like this, it historically has not been good.
Yeah, definitely not. And some of those huge ones like Apple and Microsoft are at very concerning areas right now. Like Apple is on a humongous support here around 158. We can see that there's been multiple hits at this 158 level on Apple over the past couple weeks. If we end up tanking down under here, we might start falling back down to retest 155 and then maybe even 150 over the next few weeks. I could see some of these big retests actually happening even on stocks like Tesla. Sure, they closed green, but they had a brutal sell-off as the day went on, and they just failed to get back above $200 again. So it's just these big tech stocks in the market are definitely keeping us down. I know some of the big ones we've been watching a lot lately are AMD, Nvidia, and some of those other stocks. And talking about those, we actually have Micron reporting earnings tomorrow. That's going to probably be the biggest earnings report of the week, with Micron there. Lulu's also reporting tomorrow. Looks like Walgreens is in pre-market. But going back to MU's chart, if they have some bad earnings, that might actually drag AMD, Nvidia, and maybe just cause a bigger sell-off throughout the whole entire tech sector.
Yeah, so I think overall tomorrow we're set for a pretty exciting day between earnings, like you said, but also, especially how these tech stocks overall have been turning over, in addition to the craziness with these bank stocks. So I'm pretty excited for all that. Tom, on a different note, I was looking at Disney stock today, and I know they had some pretty big news. So what's going on?
Yeah, they're actually looking to roll out some of the layoffs that they've been talking about. So a lot of these companies lately have been talking about doing layoffs. They've actually started, and it looks like they're going to do the first of 3 rounds that will amount to 7,000 job losses. So looks like there'll be a couple more rounds of these job cuts coming, but it's a pretty crazy thing. We've just been seeing so many companies doing these job cuts and laying people off over the past 6 months to a year. Obviously, as the economy's been getting crazy with higher inflation, the Fed's been raising rates and everything like that. It doesn't sound good for Disney, Mike. And looking at their chart, I kind of like them where they are in the price point level. Like for the longer term, I really like picking up shares here, but in the short term, I don't know if this is good news or bad news. Sometimes the companies pop off this news, sometimes they fall. I'm hoping that they end up popping off this because it should help their balance sheets at the end of the day.
Right, that's the thing. It's like almost any company you look at in almost any industry has definitely either slowed down their hiring or just straight up, started doing a lot of layoffs, and Disney's no different. And over the past couple of years, Disney stock has taken quite the beating. And I think ultimately this will, I guess you could say, straighten up their balance sheet. So I'm curious to see how Disney looks over the next couple months and see how this helps Disney because like I said, it's been pretty rough for them.
Yeah, it has. And, I've been happy because Bob Iger actually took back over. He was actually out as the CEO for a few years, and then he came back. Obviously, his Chapek kind of didn't do the best job, at least by the stocks movement. So hopefully Disney can get going here. I'm hoping that the new CEO, maybe combined with some good Disney Plus numbers over the next few quarters, could end up popping him back up. And I love them at this level, Mike. I don't know about you, but this is an amazing support down here around $80 to $90. There's been so many bounces over the past few years here. It is kind of scary, though, because if we fall below here, I feel like we'll just be going into free fall.
True that. We'll keep a close eye on it over the next couple weeks and months. But Tom, a couple minutes ago, we were talking about some of these bank stocks and how they've been moving in such a powerful way so far this week. Tell us more. What is causing this giant move in these bank stocks?
I'll tell you, I could not believe that I saw FCNCA or First Citizens popping up 53% this morning. Then whenever I read the news, it actually made a whole lot of sense. So they're flying up a ton and they're actually buying a big chunk of the failed Silicon Valley Bank, which obviously had that disaster a couple weeks ago. And it looks like the FDIC is holding a bunch of their securities and assets right now. And it looks like they're selling some off, obviously. And it looks like First Citizens is purchasing around $72 billion of their assets at a discount of $16.5 billion. Now, it does specifically say that they're getting their deposits and loans. So that is pretty good to hear. It's not like they're picking up physical locations necessarily or something like that. And it does say that the FDIC actually still holds $90 billion worth of other assets, obviously from Silicon Valley Bank. So I'm curious to see if maybe other banks start trying to buy or purchase some of these assets. And man, that was just an insane move from FCNCA today, up 53%. And it pushed a lot of these other bank stocks up, like FRC was up 11.8%. Even JP Morgan and Bank of America had amazing days.
A discount of $16.5 billion? What the hell? Like how can normal people get some discounts of anywhere even close to that? But yeah, I mean that's some huge news. Yeah, I mean I was reading it this morning. I actually had to read it a couple of times. I'm like, discount of $16.5 billion, and hey, that explains why you see the stock soaring over 50%.
Yeah, it really does. I'll tell you, if I got a discount like that, I'd be making the same face as this guy right here, man, because I don't know. That is a huge discount there. And congrats to FCNCA for picking that up. I mean, awesome move by them. And look at their daily chart. What's awesome about this, look at how big their sell-off was. I hate to say it, but this stock was honestly in free fall there for a little while. It's awesome to see him have this recovery. Like I said, it's going to be very speculative, but maybe some other banks would start to pick up some of those assets and do a little bit better as well. One that comes to mind is maybe FRC. They're kind of in free fall too. I know a lot of banks are in free fall right now, but I'm just wondering what the next one will be if somebody else ends up buying some part of it.
Yep, we shall see. Well, Tom, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow, though. So the first one I'm watching is NVIDIA, and this one has just been a powerhouse over the past couple weeks, but it looks like the uptrend is definitely slowing down now. It's not completely It hasn't reversed yet, but it's definitely slowing down, and I'm definitely watching Nvidia to the downside for tomorrow and over the next week or so. It is such a powerhouse, but it's just it's too overbought and it can't stay like this forever.
Yeah, I really can't. I mean, this thing has been an insane powerhouse. Like you said, it's been running nonstop. We've been waiting for it to fall for a few weeks now. And I think that once we finally see some big support breaks here over the next couple of days, we can finally maybe catch some amazing movement on some of these chip stocks to the downside. And maybe MU's earnings will maybe be what maybe tumbles us over tomorrow and after hours. So I'll keep it on my radar. Mike, my first play of the day is actually a stock that you actually talk about quite a bit. It's a CCJ, the big uranium stock. I noticed a lot of these uranium plays and energy stocks were up a ton today. And I liked how CCJ had a bit of a double top going on here. So if I see a double break, or I see this double top break around 24.75, I'll go ahead and look at some calls tomorrow. I feel like that these energy plays could be pretty good for the next few days.
All right, good stuff. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Zoom, ticker symbol ZM. It has some decent resistance right around $70 a share, but besides that, if the market's holding up, Zoom is it definitely has some good upside potential. So it's definitely on my watch list for tomorrow and honestly the rest of the week.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Zoom has been in a bad funk here lately, Mike. They're actually pretty close to lows, and I'm glad that they're right around support. It makes that risk to reward ratio pretty awesome. So I like it in that sense too. And man, some of these growth stocks could move a little bit differently than the overall market too. So I think that's a plus for Zoom. And talking about stocks that maybe don't necessarily always follow the market, I want to really be watching Boeing tomorrow. I noticed that they had a pretty big uptrend today, especially on whenever you go to an intraday chart here. Like they are sitting at a key resistance right around 201.50. When I say key, like there's been 4 bounces here over the past 3 to 5 trading days. So watch this level. I think if Boeing starts to break out tomorrow, it could be a pretty good call play to the upside potentially.
Perfect. All right. Well, with that being said, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Apple to the downside.
Yeah, poor Apple. They're straddling a big support here. Go ahead and make them break below 157.75.
All right. With the next one, we have Meta also to the downside.
META, another very high tech stock in the short term. Go ahead and make them break below 201 tomorrow. But I do want to say, once they break below 201, watch $200 pretty closely. That's going to be another big support.
All right. And last but not least, we have Bank of America to the upside.
BAC, big recovery here. Go ahead and make them break out above 28.70.
All right, so we have that upside level for Bank of America, and then we have the downside levels on Meta and Apple. If they break those levels, we'll be watching Apple and Meta to the downside, and of course, if Bank of America breaks that upside level, we will be watching it to the upside. But it is now time for the $1.2 million big money trade of the day. With this trade, we're going to be looking at CRSP, So this is one of those crazy biotech stocks. Essentially, there was $1.21 million put into the 45 strike call options that expire on July 21st of 2023. So CRSP has had a pretty wild past couple of years. It has highs of around $220 that it made back in 2021. And right now it's lingering right around $44. Basically $40 has been a huge support level. And anytime you have any decent news or good outlook with one of these crazy biotech stocks, they can move in an absolutely insane way. So it's definitely interesting seeing $1.2 million go into this setup. And Tom, it's definitely not bad.
Yeah, it's really not. I like that support bounce. I like the amount of money going into it. I like the strike. I like that they have some time on this as well. Like it doesn't necessarily have to pop tomorrow for them. It could, stay down here around support for a month and still do very, very well as long as it starts to uptrend maybe around May or June, obviously heading into July. So I like this play. Like I said, the strike's awesome. It's like right at the money. And I love that support bounce, especially that double bottom recently at 42. Looks dead on. I mean, that's a perfect double bottom there for all the technical traders out there. So should be pretty good, Mike. It seems like buyers like to come in down here, and I'm hoping that they can start the uptrend. And like you said, obviously there could be some pretty crazy information, but honestly, that's just a big support in general too.
No doubt. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one over the next couple weeks. Keep a close eye on it. But Tom, for tomorrow, like I said, I think we're set for a pretty exciting day. I think we're going to see some pretty solid movement. Do you have any final thoughts or any last minute stocks you're watching?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be crazy. What I will say is still keep your eyes on some of these stocks that maybe inverse the market, because if we continue to see these tech stocks move down in such a bad way, keep your eyes on SPXS. That could end up having a pretty good next few days if the market starts to turn over. Same thing with possibly UVXY and SQQQ. Keep your eyes on those three. Look at SQQQ today with the tech stocks turning over. It was blasting, ended up actually popping up only 2%. But still, that was a pretty solid intraday move. And if the market turns over more, this thing could possibly have go on even more of a run.
You know it. Last but not least, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. And we also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Peak, in the Stocked Up Discord. You've only been in the chat for around 2 weeks or so, but your activity has been pretty good. So definitely keep it up. It's awesome to have you in the chat so far. Besides that, let's have an amazing week.